Shalom. I pray that God gives you the understanding of these things that I speak. Amen. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about holiness and holiness in, especially holiness in the church. Now, what I have noticed, this is very general. In most cases, you see people in the church, they are like very holy. They have the best dress put on, they are looking very modest, and they look very righteous, so to speak. And then they do their service and to God, and once the service session is over, they return to their respective houses. And when they get back to their houses, they are uh, one of the most one of the most unrighteous persons you would ever meet. Oh, then you say, how can you judge? How can you judge well when you know what is the right measure, and then you bring another measure beside it, and then you look measure both, look at both, and you compare them, and then you see that the other one doesn't actually fit the standard. You can basically just trash it and consider it, yeah, this has fallen below the standard. So this isn't about, oh, why to judge. It's more like about picking out what doesn't meet up with the standard. When you know what holiness means, and when you know how important God considers it to be, and what makes up holiness to God, then you begin to understand these things, and you can begin to discern and see clearly, okay, this is it, or this is not it. Now, holiness in its simplest form means being different. I say God is holy, it simply means God is different. He's different from the other gods. His ways are different from their ways. His ways are different from the ways of man. He is completely different. Different in values, in morals, in everything you can think of that is good. He is different, and this is what holiness is. And God says, be holy for I am holy. And when God says, be holy for I am holy, what he's saying is that be different. Be different. Just as he's different from the other gods, you have to also be different from the world. And so this is why we are consecrated to service. This is why we are chosen, so to speak. Christ says, many are called, but few are chosen. You see, the few who have been chosen are to serve in God's presence. And if you are serving in God's presence, you are likened to the priests of old, that they come before, they come into the holy, into the temple, the holy place, and they burn incense to God. And these prophets had to be these priests had to be very different, like very different even from the common Israelites. And they had to be pure, and they had to live a certain lifestyle, and they had to be perfectly clean coming in to burn incense. And so when we saw an example when Aaron's two sons didn't meet up with his holiness requirement, we saw that they were submitting, right? Now you as well, as the book of, as Peter highlights, it says you are a royal priesthood, meaning that Christ's death has qualified you, so long you are chosen to serve in God's presence. Now, if you are serving in God's presence, then it means you are serving as priest in His presence. And if you are serving as a priest in God's presence, you've got to be different. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be different during your Sunday service sessions, and then when you go back to your respective houses, you become just like the world. You have to be different at all times. This isn't a it's the requirement. It's something you've got to be like. You've got to be like Christ. You've got to think like him. You've got to act like him. You've got to do things like him. You've got to shun the world completely. And remember the message he wrote to the Laodicean church. He says, you are neither cold nor hot, meaning you are trying to do God's, you are still trying to, you know, take a part in ungodly ways. You are trying to be like the world while still trying to keep your service to God. It is, you had better be cold or be hot if you would be hot, but you cannot be like lukewarm. Otherwise, it's coming and it's coming to spew you out of his mouth. And this is a very, very dangerous times, very, very terrible period. A period where, as it says in Revelations, a period of trial coming upon the nations of the earth. Now, you've got to like take your stand. Are you going to be holy? Are you going to be different? Are you going to serve God with all your heart and with all your might, with the whole of you? Or you are just going to be a part of the world? If you are going to be a part of the world, please do enjoy it fully, because the cup of the Lord in his hand is a cup. And once the cup is full, you would have your recompense, your recompense in full. Alright, but if you are going to stand for God, if you are going to be on the Lord's side, do it totally, with the totality of your heart, shutting your heart to outside influences, worldly conventions, shunning them, eschewing evil, and you know, devoting the whole of your heart, the whole of your mind to the service of the Creator. So you can come to your church Sunday service sessions or whenever the service session is, and you are all holy, you are good, you are righteous, and then you leave that very point, and from the moment you leave, you put down your garment of righteousness, so to speak, and you become a completely worldly person. That is in true worship. Remember what God says in Isaiah? The same still applies even to so-called Christians. You claim to serve me, you claim to worship me, but you draw closer with your mouth to me, you sing praises with your lips, but you are far away from me. Your worship of me is in vain. Now, why? Because you have upheld the commandments of men, you have taken man-made doctrines, following them as though they were mine. And so you come claiming to be righteous, claiming to serve me, claiming to worship me, but your worship is nothing to me. So you cannot be righteous in the church and not be righteous outside of the church. Why? Because you have been consecrated and your service to God is day and night. Your service to God is in fact not the same as your church service sessions that you go. You only go because you fulfill the do not forsake the gathering of the brethren. But at the same time, your real service, your personal service to God, is the incense you burn personally, the incense you burn, and you burn it day and night. When you meet with God personally to pray to Him or to praise, to worship Him, that is your incense, that is your service to God. And so if your heart then is dark, contaminated, unholy, how is God going to accept your worship? How is your worship going to be acceptable to Him?